You'll usually find him traveling the US exploring the ruins and investigating the paranormal. Now he's on Survivor Angels, talking Day of the Dead, Halloween, and an angel wormhole. He's Vince Kelien, coming up next.
It's time for Survivor Angels, an approach to strengthen trauma survivors. Here, you can escape what draws negativity and engage your positive abilities and the gifts that you've always had. Let's activate your angels. And to help you on that journey, here's Chaplain Jodi.
Vince is feeling the spirits today, but not any kind of good spirits. But thanks for coming on Survivor Angels, Vince.
Of course.
Tis the season to start picking up every frickin' bug that's out there, right?
Oh my God. I'm not even sure what it is. At first I thought maybe it was COVID, but I was throwing up. I was like, that's not a symptom. And then I didn't really have any other symptoms other than that and my head being all stuffy. So I was like, okay, I caught like a 24-hour bug or something. But other than that,
still, yeah, you still feel like crap.
it's
Yeah, so
yeah.
I really do appreciate you still coming on.
Well, of
Oh
course.
my gosh. And so we're going to talk about the dead and like Day of the Dead and like you kind of feel like right now.
A little bit,
So
yeah. It's a
yeah.
little different.
Yeah, so this show will drop next weekend, which
Mhm.
is for all intents and purposes the closest weekend to Halloween
Of
that
course.
we're going to get to here. So let's talk about Halloween and Day of the Dead and All Saints Day. And then there's all these other traditions all around the world that are really similar. Um, and kind of when you look at them, Halloween is the tamest of them all. I mean,
It's
is that kind of what
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of I mean, if you look at different cultures and different uh you call different nationalities, I guess, you go into like cultural issues in Japan with the suicide forest and how they view the paranormal, and it's terrifying. You got little long haired ghost girls coming out of wells, and little naked people that run around. You get into Spanish culture, and it's all gore, and it's all terrifying, and Danny Trejo with a machete, and um all these different cultures have all these different ways that they portray the paranormal and portray horror movies and things like that. um it's genuinely terrifying, but you go to look at America, and it's just like, we're like, okay, trick-or-treating and the kids and candy. I say that, but me being like a genuine horror movie fan, I've always been hardcore on watching like Friday the 13th and Halloween and Freddy Krueger and all those guys. There was one in particular slasher film that I never picked up because it just looked so corny to me, but I love corny horror movies, but this one just kind of like took the cake. I didn't really understand what it was. I watched Terrifier for the first time recently because my son wants to go see Terrifier 3 in theaters.
Okay.
And this guy is out of this world. In the first movie, he's like a genuine psychotic dude who just wants to cause mayhem. He dies in the first one, and then comes back, through some kind of satanic demon esque kind of deal, and causes mayhem again. But the the mayhem is way worse than anything that has really come out in American cinema. Like the for terror, I watched both movies. I watched the first one. I was like, William, I'm not so sure you should see the second one. It was one of those movies I didn't realize I probably need to watch it before he watched it.
Mhm.
And the gore is just twice as bad, 2 or 3 times as bad as normal American cinema. Um, to the point to where after I'd seen the first two, I was doing some diving online, and I popped up on a TikTok video, them talking about Art the Clown, the main character in the movie, and how they're handing out barf bags at the movie theater to ticket holders.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
it's genuinely like I haven't had a nightmare in years, and I wouldn't say it was a nightmare. I'd say it's a dream, but like watching the movie happen in front of you, like in the dream, I guess. And I'm just like, this is so disgusting. Um, and that takes a lot for me to say because I love horror movies. I love everything gore. Evil Dead was one of my favorite movies when I was younger. I like all the nasty stuff, and and this movie or these movies, Terrifier, is out of this world, just like next level. Like I don't think that there's another nationality that could touch this movie.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
it's it's crazy. I saw it. And it's so funny to watch the movies and then see the character this past weekend was at Galaxy Con, I guess, but he was in
Okay.
character, so he was like all dressed up and he was going around and he was scaring people with his little with his little bike horn and everything. It's so funny to see in the movie how like terrifying he is, but in real life he's just walking around like just like all just happy and giddy and stuff, and I'm just like, what is happening here? It's so
Well,
wild.
and that brings up an interesting thought. I mean, horror films, slasher films, maybe not so much slasher, but horror films, it's the genre is huge as far as how many people love them.
Oh yeah.
And yet when you tell people that you're going paranormal investigating, they're going, "Oh, I won't do that."
I won't touch that, but I'll watch Annabelle through a movie screen.
Yeah.
Um, it's no, it's absolutely wild. I get so many people online that hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I saw this location. You should go check it out." And I'm like, and I have two answers. It's usually I have or it's on the list. And they'll. And now, every once in a while, depending on who the person is, I'll be like, feel free to come out if you want to. And they're like, no way, not happening, not doing it. I'm like, I just saw a post from you reviewing a new horror movie, and you won't go like ghost hunting.
Right.
Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah. So
it's wild.
I have to yeah, I have to back up for a second. How old is your son?
He's 13.
He's 13. Okay. I was over at one of my daughters earlier today, and her girls are 10 and 14.
Yeah.
And they are just sort of now starting to let them watch some of these movies. And so they together watched the current movie, It, not the
Oh yeah.
original It.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they're jumping up and down now. We want to watch The Exorcist, and we want
Yeah.
to watch, this and that. And I looked at him and said, I've seen The Exorcist twice. I will not watch it again. I only watched it the second time because I was under duress.
Um, it's crazy because those Terrifier movies are worse than Exorcist. Um,
Right?
they are. I yeah, I realized like the whole like masturbation scene and everything in The Exorcist was like crazy for its time. Like no one was expecting it. It was disgusting and it was this and it was that and everything else. Um it's terrifying. Here's the thing is that when um we expose whether it's genitals on movies or we expose like any kind of form of like sex or foul play or anything like that in American cinema. It's always like that's the worst, you can't touch that, That's that's the absolute worst. Well, you go and watch Exorcist and you're like, okay, well, that was terrible. And then you go watch like the you go watch the Jessica Alba version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Uh-huh.
and you're like, he just put a chainsaw through dude's crotch. That's terrifying.
Right.
Um, and then so there's been like a steady um development throughout the years, right? So in Terrifier, I think it was one, he had one of the girls strapped up by the legs, naked with only underwear on, and you think the worst, right? Before he does
Right.
anything, you're like, this is gonna be bad. And he has her strapped up, spread eagle in the air. Um, the only thing she has on is underwear, and he takes a hacksaw, and you can guess the rest,
Right.
all the way down to the throat. And you're just like, and just when you don't think it can get any worse, I'm told, because I haven't went and saw I haven't went and saw 3 yet. My son is not going to see that in theaters. Um, I will though. I'm told that somehow that this movie is worse than Exorcist. It's worse than Texas Chainsaw. It's worse than the first Terrifier. As far as like gore and mutilation and all that kind of stuff is concerned. But it's funny because people think that these directors are pushing the boundaries and everything with like what you can do in American cinema, because typically the only thing you're going to see in movies is rated R. You're not going to see NC-17, which is like the next step of being like awful.
Right.
You're not going to see an X rating because that's not promoted in America. You can go over to England and get that, but you can't get it here
Yeah.
unless you go on the internet. But it's extremely wild in American culture when it comes to horror movies, it comes to Halloween and everything else, because we look at everybody else and they're like, those people are crazy, but we're not looking at ourselves. And you're just like, oh, well, that's just normal. America craves violence. Look how many wars we've been in. Look how many, everything else. America genuinely craves violence. So so people in America think that we are so downplayed compared to other nationalities and other cultures, but in all reality, we're just as bad, if not
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when
Um,
you think about Halloween started in Ireland
mhm.
as a pagan festival. Um, the early Catholic Church actually embraced Halloween, and of course, Christianity then brought in sort of as a response to it, All Souls Day, what All Saints Day. They call it,
Yeah.
different things depending on what your religious thread is there. But then, like I said, then we've got Day of the Dead from Mexico, which
Mhm.
is an ancient Aztec
Yeah.
celebration. And it goes 2 days. And the first day is to communicate with the dead children.
Yeah.
The second day is to communicate then with the dead everybody else. At least
Yeah.
that's my understanding of it.
That's what I gather from it. Yeah. I know there's a lot more, and I also don't want to offend anybody because I didn't dive into research before we started the podcast. But no, yeah, there's so much to it, and it's sacred and it's cultural. And you know, I think that Day of the Dead is one of those things that you should, excuse me, one of those things that maybe you should, as an American or a white person, go just out of nowhere, to go experience.
Mhm.
Maybe not participate in because of the there's cultural boundaries and everything else, but
Right.
maybe go see how they do things, maybe see how they communicate versus how we do, because it's probably 10 times different.
Hmm.
Um, I remember when I was a kid, um, indigenous people were used as a entertainment effect. I remember going on a field trip when I was a kid, and it was to go see Native Americans perform rituals when I was a kid. This was a field trip. It was, I look at it and I think about it now, and I'm just like, wow, this was like exposure, but or exposing a culture, but it was interesting to see those people and how they did things. It was beautiful too. They were dancing and twirling, and they were in ancient period appropriate attire, and
Okay.
um, they had these songs that they would sing and that they would chant, and it was like accurate to to their ancestors. Um, Everything that leads up to Halloween, whether we talk about Salem, or we talk about how it was never, we talk about Christmas too, right? It was never an actual Christian holiday. It was for the
Right.
pagans, it was for the witches, and all of those things. Um, and it seems as if a lot of these different religions have taken these holidays for their own, to spread spread false narratives like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and Sam Hain and all those different things. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I've got kids. I do it all too. I totally understand. I'm not in any way form religious. I do believe that there is probably a higher power, a lower power. There probably has to be something in order for us to do what we do, right? Like there's got to be something there holding these people that we talk to, that we think whoever it is that we think we're talking to on this earth. My aunt, she um she believes that ghosts, spirits, whatever the acronym is that people like to use, she believes that they are demons, that they are tricksters. They and sometimes forget to act accordingly. Um,
Right.
so when you get something like negative, or you get something like dirty or nasty or whatever, it's a demon that's forgotten how to act.
Uh-huh. Well, and
Um,
see that I can fall in line with some of what she's saying, because fallen angels are demons. Demons are fallen angels.
right.
And sometimes what we believe is coming through a spirit, I actually believe that it's either fallen angel slash demon, or it's, a light angel coming through in manifesting as the loved one that the person knows, because that's who they're going to be comfortable with.
I have a
So,
question. Can
yeah.
I don't mean to stop you, because I'll lose it if I don't say it like immediately. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Do you? So I know that you're a spiritualist. I know that I'm guessing, just kind of by how you were talking, that you're religious. Do you think that, so you said fallen angels are demons? Do you think that that's a rough take at all? Do you think that that's like do you think at any point in time during the biblical era, during history and everything else, right? He rose after 7 days. So, there's all these different historical events in religion, right, that has to do with God. That, do you think, or Jesus Christ, I guess, do you think at all? So during the time of the fallen angels, these were people who sided with Lucifer, correct? Or these were
Well, yeah,
angels who sided with
they
Lucifer.
were angels that basically said, "We are as good as God, and so we don't need you, God," and they were cast out then as fallen
Okay.
angels. Yeah.
Okay. So, question. So
Mhm.
this is me taking a human question on it. Do you think at all that there's a possibility that these rebels, because that's what that is, that
Right?
these rebels against God, against his son Jesus, do you think at all that there's a possibility that God had done something wrong that made these angels feel the way that they felt? Hey,
No,
so no, not at all.
well, the way that I see it, Vince, a lot of it is from my religious upbringing. I have a
Sure.
Master of Divinity degree.
I get it.
But interesting piece with that is I learned a whole lot in seminary because we had access to so much other information, if you will, that our professor said, but you will not preach that from the pulpit because you will scare the hell out of your parishioners. So
Right.
let me say it with that caveat.
Okay.
Um, Angels have free will just like we have free will.
Okay.
So God didn't do something wrong. There was this one group of angels that got it within themselves, the idea, which the main one, of course, was Lucifer, that said, I am as good as the creator. I don't need the creator.
Okay.
I've got this. I have all the power of the creator because they are a direct energy from the creator.
Mhm.
Well, that wasn't entirely true. And that's
Okay.
what got him into trouble.
Okay. So the reason I ask, and this is deriving off of, we're back to cinema and movies and TV. Um, this goes back to different movies and TV shows that believe different producers and directors and things like that that think that if angels had free will, right? So like that's a thing. If angels had free will, is it a possibility that they saw something that God did that they were, we won't get far into politics because I'm not good at it, but can we say that maybe there's a possibility that we'll look at it, we'll look at God right now just as a metaphor, it's not real, don't cast me. um is there a possibility that, so the Democratic and Republican Party, right, they were at odds, and they saw their leaders, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, um, saying different things that did not sit right with them. Um, we're talking about abortion ban. We're talking about, um, you know, in the Bible, it talks about how you could stone your wife to death for being disobedient. Um, you can even go into, now obviously these rules that were labeled in the Bible, they were metaphors. People aren't to take them seriously. They
Right.
were to say, hey, these are things that have happened but shouldn't repeat themselves. So, um, at what point in time could I sell my sister into slave trade because she touched the ham that was in the freezer? At what point in time do the Washington Redskins? I think they've changed the name now, but at what
Commanders.
point? Yeah, at what point in time does the quarterback for the Washington Redskins get stoned to death for touching the hide of a pig? Um, do we uh, at the age of 13, am I allowed to sell my child into sex slave or sex trade? Um, there's so many different things, and obviously those things have happened in biblical times, but they're not to be repeated. But the Bible is really hard to it's very hard to read for anyone who has never picked up the Bible. And to
Because
be fair, the last time I
yeah.
picked up a Bible, I was 14. So I had religion shoved down my throat when I was a kid. But
Let me just say this, Vince, here.
yeah,
As far as reading the Bible, people don't know how to read the Bible. They haven't
right.
been shown how, and that is a huge problem
It
with
is.
it. It's actually filled with so much good, juicy stuff. It's really a quite interesting read when you understand in what context and how to read it. And you still got to get past some of the language and some of that
Even
stuff.
if it's wild that more people, like I said, the last time I touched the Bible I was like 13, 14, whatever, but
Yeah.
if you are into ghost hunting, if you're into preservation and restoration and all that kind of stuff that we worry about in the paranormal community, the Bible is an excellent read. And if you can't understand it, get the King James version, because that's dumbs it down. There's even a new version called the Gen Z Bible where they dumb it down with the language of children or teenagers. Um, there was a pastor that had ran through the entire Gen Z Bible and was like, I made sure to double check all of this because I would never, you know, I would never stain the word of God, by telling false information. But I just wanted to read this because I think it's super funny, but it's also accurate. And he was like, um, Mother Mary was a pick me girl from the birth of a boomer. It's so funny. It's absolutely hilarious. But with all of those biblical historical events that take place in the Bible, um, do you think that maybe the Republican Party and the Democratic Party was seeing Donald Trump and Kamala Harris engaging and talking about things that they didn't agree with? See, I have a hard time with this subject because we talk about how God can do no wrong, which in hindsight, my own personal beliefs, and this isn't to stain anyone else's, and I will never try to change anyone's religious beliefs. I do believe that there is a God. Now, regardless of who that God is or what religion the God comes from, it is what it is. I believe that there's also an evil person that butts heads with the man upstairs or the woman upstairs, whoever. Um, but at any point in time, the way that producers and directors paint Lucifer and the way that they paint God is that Lucifer was severely misunderstood. And that Lucifer, rebelled against God for things that shouldn't be happening. He didn't, I don't, from what I gather, Lucifer didn't agree with free will. Yes, he wanted free will, but with the inkling of that smoking a cigarette shouldn't be a crime against God. Your body's a temple, that sort of thing. Drinking whiskey instead of wine shouldn't be a mark against God. Uh, things that could be punishable by death would be things like murder, would be, they talk about how if you commit suicide, you're not going to heaven. And you could be the best person on the planet. Chester Bennington was one of them. Robin Williams. There was all kinds of different people that have Liam Payne. They're talking about his autopsy and saying how he jumped the kid that just
Right.
recently died for I think it was One Direction. If the Bible is accurate, he's not going to heaven just because of that one instance where he felt like life wasn't enough.
But
And
you know what? That's one of the misconceptions about the Bible. That is not true because at the end of the day, because every one of us has done bad shit in one form or another. Some of us have
whoa,
done worse
Jody,
than others. But
Jody cursed. I'm
you
getting
know,
hot.
and so there is nobody who hasn't done something, and the bottom line is we do something every blessed day. And so you have to throw that whole argument out the window, because what it all comes back to is God is a loving God, and he loves us, and
Okay,
he forgives us as long as we acknowledge
that
who
we've
he
done
is.
wrong. Oh, okay. So I was confused there just for a split second. Um, so
I mean, that doesn't mean you should go around doing stuff
right,
intentionally.
no, I get
You still
that,
should
but
try not to.
um, there's so so in retrospect, what you're saying is that okay, the lead singer from Linkin Park, right, Chester Bennington, they just recently came out with a new album. They got a new singer. It's a female. Fans either really hate it or they really love it. Women taking power, that kind of thing. You either love it or you hate it. It is what it is. But so basically, what you're saying is that so Chester, I think it was 3 to 4 months after the singer for Stone Temple Pilots hung himself. Um, Chester did the same thing. So basically what you're saying is that after death, Chester could have walked up to the gates and, you know, confessed his love for God, and God would have forgave him for what he did.
Yes,
That's
very
interesting.
possible. The other piece of it is you talk about hell on earth. That phrase has been around for centuries.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people believe, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong because I don't have all the answers,
Well,
but
sure.
a lot of times people come back. I'm not saying that's reincarnation. I don't know quite for sure how this works,
Okay.
but people come back over and over again until they, how should I say, they get it right.
A second chance.
So if, oh, and like Jeff Bellinger at Michigan Paracon a couple of
Mhm.
years back, he did a phenomenal talk on who is the devil, and he supported every step of the way, and I knew where he was going with it. He got to the very end of it, and he looked at the whole crowd because he had a packed room, and he said, the devil is you and me. And that's something
I
to
love
think
that.
about.
I love
Yes,
that. That's great.
yes, right. So
Jeff
I mean,
Jeff's
all of this,
hardcore.
yeah, you can look at this from so many different perspectives and never fully arrive at the answer. And
Right.
that's okay because that's what keeps us searching. That's what keeps us going out on paranormal investigations and all
Right.
of that. Yep.
It's it's a really wild stance. And how people view us, how people view themselves. Um, there's so much to it, and we can go through the rabbit hole for days on end, and
Yes.
religion and politics, and how the similarities coincide with what we do, and there's so many other different topics. Like, it's all the same. I've got friends who wrestle, like professionally, that go through all the same stuff that we do in the community. Um, and there's so much like politics and drama and all this other kind of extra stuff. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you can talk about it all day. Like, you can talk about what's going on with Conjuring House, or you can talk about what's going on with, um, how people are upset that Sam and Colby bought Farrar, or how they hiked the prices up, or whatever. By the way, I want to take 1 second to say that I know that I know about 70 to 80 people that didn't know what Farrar was before Sam and Colby purchased it, and don't give a shit about the price hike. They're ready to go.
Right.
Here's the thing with that is that because Sam and Colby who they are, um, they're going to bring mention, and they're going to bring a they're going to bring people in the door even with that price. And what do we all hope for in the paranormal community? What's the one thing that we fear in the community? Is one of our locations crumbling.
Right.
Well, with that kind of money coming into Farrar, that building is not going anywhere, and it never will, because that money is going to go into restoration. Um, it's going to go into preservation, and that building's never going to go anywhere. That's what a lot of people don't understand with these bigger buildings is some of these bigger buildings need a hefty price tag.
Yes.
The Conjuring, I don't believe it needs that hefty of a price tag. It's my opinion. But a building like Farrar, Waverly, Trains Allegheny, OSR, West Virginia Penn. I mean, there's a million
Right.
different locations that have 1,000 and up, and it's because there's more maintenance to be done there. And now that someone with some kind of merit, some kind of celebrity status has purchased that building's not going anywhere.
Right.
Now I could be talking out of my ass. Sam and Colby might just take the money and run, whatever. But
Yeah, they will.
at the end of the day, I don't think they will. And I
No.
think before they run, they'll sell it again. And
Yeah.
things happen. But but whether it's like I said, whether it's Sam and Colby, the Conjuring House, people talking crazy about whatever the case, um, at the end of the day, everyone is just human, and there's no
Right.
reason to be mad at each other.
No.
I get jealous of stuff a lot. I have super high anxiety. I made a post about it earlier this week. Where I mean, even of friends, like there's some things that I will pop up and be like, "Man, that is so cool. I wish that was me. This is such a great opportunity." But I also have to show support. I can't be jealous. Jump in the comments, give my congratulations, because at the end of the day, we all have to support each other.
Right.
But I get that way sometimes, just like anybody
Yeah.
and everybody else. Anyone who says they've never been jealous of someone who does what they do in whatever field, it doesn't matter if it's cars or it's paranormal or wrestling or TV or whatever, you're lying. There's
Yeah.
just there's no doubt about it. You're lying through your teeth.
Yeah.
Um,
It's how you respond to it.
yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
key. Hmm.
Um, I probably need to be, if I'm being honest with myself, which I know it's like typical man, you know, hard headed, don't ask for directions type of shit. But um, there's, I probably need some kind of medication to relax my anxiety. I know a lot of people, they talk about, well, in my comments on that post, there was so many comments. It was crazy. It was a lot of you're not alone messages, a lot of we all go through it, a lot of support, which was wild for me to see, because I don't, you don't know someone's depressed until they say something.
Right.
um so for all of those different responses to come through was first of all, it was heart-wrenching, because you don't want anyone to go through that. But um
Right.
at the same time, it's like, wow, all these people are going through the same thing. Well, here's the thing, is that if you blatantly cuss somebody out online, or publicly bash somebody online, um without any kind of merit, just because you can, is it, you don't know what that person is going through in any field
Right.
whatsoever. Um, I've done it before. I've hit people straight in the nuts with different things. I've went after predators in the community. I've went after fakers before. In as long as I've been in it, I've only been public for the last 3 years, three and a half, something like that. Um, there's a lot of I had to learn really quickly. There's a lot of growing that you have to do.
Yes.
Um, and you whatever you call them, whether they're your fans or your followers, or whatever I call mine, dudes. Um, but whatever you call them, they want to see that person happy. They
Yes.
they want to see positivity coming through. And I'll scroll through TikTok after I've posted a video for hours, and just sit there and go through other people's stuff, and the amount of just bashing and trashing, and this person did this person did that. And it's not just in the paranormal, it's in other degrees. Like if you're just a content creator, or maybe you're a dancer on TikTok, or whatever your stick is. Oh my god, if everybody just hates each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
um I
And
it's
it,
it's
and yeah, all that negative energy, it just brings everything around them down. It's like dropping a pebble in a pond, and people have heard me say this a lot, and the rings just go out and out and out. And so people just need to, time out here, people. Just
Yeah.
if you don't have something good to say, then don't say anything at all. Just move
Yeah.
on,
there was
right?
um there was an instance. There's been a lot here lately. because I think between me and you, I think that we have like a general circle of people, right?
Yeah.
But we also
Yeah.
have a bigger circle, and that bigger circle consists of a whole lot of people. And in that bigger circle, there's beef. Um, and you're friends with both people. And you're just like, and those people wonder why you don't come to their aid, and
Right.
whenever they post something publicly or whatever. And um it's it's really like I said, I had to learn really quickly. I remember my first year in, I had a problem, a year and a half to 2 years maybe. I had a problem with somebody, or somebody had a problem with me, and they twisted my words in a thing, and it turned into this big huge thing in the middle of like this circle of people that I would hang out with. And it pretty much just, I just don't talk to any of those people as much as I used to anymore. And it's unfortunate because I really like all those people, but um
Right.
you know if there's malice, and I've had malice, everyone's had malice, but I mean, if you have malice in your heart and you continue to use it, it's going to continue,
Right.
and it's
Yep.
never going to
And
stop until you
sometimes,
figure it out.
yeah, I know I just did, a brief video clip the other day and just said, sometimes the best thing you can do is just turn and walk away, because when enough people do that with people who are consistently showing malice,
Hmm.
that hopefully they get the message. It's like, oh, well, there went another one. Oh, well, there went another one. So besides doing yourself a favor for your own mental and emotional health, hopefully you're doing them a favor too by giving them the message in probably the kindest way possible, by just simply walking away.
Right.
Yep.
Well, at the end of the day, that's a lot of the times that's all you can do. um
Mhm.
I message I message friends, well, people I consider friends. I'll message them every once in a while. Like, I'll see something like maybe it is negative or whatever, but I'll reach out and be like, "Hey, checking on your mental health. How you doing?" And it's not like a look at me kind of thing. It's a, hey, if you need to talk,
Right.
like,
Yep.
I see on your post that you're in a room full of people and you're screaming at the top of your lungs and no one's listening. I'll
Mhm.
listen. It's fine.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
if they do, I will talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
Um, I got nothing better to do. And and at the end of the day, what's more important than your mental health?
Absolutely. Yep.
And it could be the worst person. It really could
Mhm.
be. It could be the absolute worst person.
Yeah. There was a saying, I don't know, back in the 70s, I think it was, because I'm of that age, older. But
I thought you were like 20. That's crazy.
oh, bless your heart, Vince, I love you. But, walk a mile in my shoes. And it was really prevalent. And of course, that was about the time, Vietnam was ending, and, civil rights movement and
Mhm.
all of that. And we have forgotten that we need to put ourselves in the other person's place and look around as they see things,
Yep,
and not just how we see things. And the world will be a better place.
absolutely. I agree.
Yes. Well, Vince, we've gone down a wormhole here from where we
Oh my
started.
god. It
That's
was
okay.
crazy.
I love this. I absolutely love this. And so I'm going to let you go because I know you need to just go get some rest. I see you just chugging stuff like crazy to keep yourself going. But we will do this again because we have
Absolutely.
so much more to talk about. So thank you so much for coming on Survivor Angels.
Absolutely. It's wild that we talked about angels.
Yeah, they're out there for you and for me, for
I,
everybody. So,
I believe that there's something to that nature. Yeah.
yeah. So until next time, Vince, you take care, get yourself well.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for joining Chaplain Jodi on Survivor Angels. For more information, go to chaplainjodi.me. That's chaplainjodi.me. And on Facebook at Survivor Angels Chaplain Jodi. Sound effects for the show created by Andre Opate and provided by Pixbay. This is Dave Schrader. Until next time, sending you off to activate your angels.